Good morning. Good morning. As I've been introduced before, my name is Kimberley, Davey. I'm the granddaughter of the late Pastor Ken Davey, if any of you know him. So today, clearly, I'm doing something a little bit different. Today, I'm using Australian Sign Language. It's also called Auslan for short. I've been learning Auslan for about 5 years to communicate with deaf friends. I'm not fluent, not yet, but I'm improving over time. So this morning, to start my presentation, I've asked one of my deaf friends to come up because I want to ask him a few questions. So you come up. Right, so I met you about 1 year ago at the Seventh-day Adventist service at Uronga, because I have interpreted that right. Good, right. So your name is Stephen. So, you were born deaf? Yes, I was born deaf because of German measles when my mother was pregnant, so yeah. So what's your first language? Is it English or sign language? Sign language is really my first language because it's very, very visual. Before I started learning the written English, so Auslan is my first language. So I assume, maybe I'm wrong, that in the world there's one international sign language. All the sign languages in the world are the same. Is that true? Not true, not really, because each country has their own sign language because of the culture background. It's their language. For example, America used one hand finger spelling. Australia uses two hands, and England has the same as well. So the different signing, all the same? No. Only if you go to international conferences, some international signs, a little bit is the same. So yeah. Okay. Do all deaf people wish that they can hear? Most deaf really are stuck because they're no hearing at all, there's nothing. Some deaf, like when they're born hearing and they grow up hearing and they become deaf all of a sudden, they can use hearing aids or cochlear implants. It's their own decision. Okay, so what's the difference between deaf people and hard of hearing people? Are they the same, are they different? For true deaf people who use full sign language, hard of hearing, they use lip reading and they speak with their mouth, most of them, a little bit of sign, a little bit, but that's how it's different. Okay, so what about the deaf community? What is the deaf community? The deaf community is like all people get together in a group and they have the same identity. They all sign at the same time as well. They have strong signing skills and they feel it's my language. Okay, so are most deaf people in the deaf community in Australia, are most Christians? There's a very small number of Christians in the deaf community. I feel maybe about under 15%. It's not full deaf community as Christians. Okay, and last question, you go to a deaf church, right? Yes, okay, so how is a deaf church different to a hearing church? Is it the same or different? Same as culture, it's the same culture as the deaf community. For deaf people come to deaf church, the same, they have the same signing, they understand each other. If I go to a hearing church, the deaf feel a little bit maybe withdrawn and it's good, but they don't feel fully connected. It's different. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I asked Stephen to share the information first because I find it very, very interesting myself. And also because it gives a good introduction to this morning's presentation. This morning, I want to talk over what our church at the global level is doing about the deaf, the blind, and other people groups who sometimes in the past have been overlooked. Okay, so I have a slide. Have a slide? Yeah, I've put a few slides this morning, so that's good. Thank you. Okay, so there's a slide. In 2011, the General Conference established a committee to focus on the needs of people who society sometimes calls disabled. Oh, just the first slide will be fine. That society sometimes calls disabled. But really, when you think about it, the word disabled really has a negative feeling, right? Because it focuses on what a person can't do, not what they can do. To avoid the negative word, the committee was called Special Needs. Its focus was to give support to the blind and to people with physical limitations. At the same time, Pastor Larry Evans, who worked for the General Conference in the job of stewardship, yep, he's on the screen, ship, it's a long word to spell, asked if he could have the additional job on the side of caring for the deaf, because it was his dream for the GC to support and connect the different deaf ministries around the world in the church. In September 2015, the General Conference Administrative Committee voted to move the coordination for special needs ministries to be under the President, who is now Pastor Ted Wilson. And then Pastor Larry Evans accepted the job as the Assistant to the President for Special Needs Ministry. So, what's the purpose of this Ministry of Special Needs? The purpose is to encourage expression which I'm sure you've heard before. It's called total member involvement. That means what? It means the deaf, the blind, orphans, and people with physical and mental limitations can be involved in the church so we all can work together. Because everyone has different experiences and skills to contribute. And just like the logo says on the screen, all are gifted, needed and treasured. Okay, next slide. Does anyone know the man on the screen? Lee? Yeah, you know him? Brilliant. He works for our South Pacific Division. He's manager of Christian services for the blind and hearing impaired, which was established by the church in 1973. Previously, he's focused on the blind mostly. Christian Services Blind and Hearing Impaired has done, for example, they provide over 1,000 church books in digital format, made by the Media Centre to have closed captions on it. So that's for, yeah, sorry, I just got lost. We'll say that again. Right, try again. They provide 1,000 church books in digital format available through Vision Australia Library. Also, they do audio magazines on CD, including parts of Science of the Times and Adventist Record. It is written and also the Sabbath School lesson 2. But the time has arrived for the deaf to be included and focused on now at the same time. Next slide, please. Lee has been advocating for Adventist films made in the Media Centre to have closed captions. For example, Tell the World movie and also Beyond the Search. My family and a couple of church friends met Lee in the 2013 Big Camp. Looking back, I think it was a providential meeting because Lee started to support us too. Next slide, please. On the screen, you can see our last 2 annual deaf camps that Lee has been working with us in organising. For example, in our deaf camp in 2015, Christian Services for Blind and Hearing Impaired, paid for our professional sign language interpreter for that camp. Myself, I'm very excited because this year we're working with Lee to organise our third deaf camp in October, and we've asked Pastor Jeff Jordan and his wife to be our presenters. So can we have the next slide, please?
That's all.
That's all? Okay. No, okay. Because they should be picked up. Okay, right. So, Pastor Jeff Jordan, he's deaf, like full deaf. He's the only full-time ordained Seventh-day Adventist deaf pastor in North America Division. And he has a small deaf church, and he preaches in American Sign Language. And his wife, as I said before, is a hearing interpreter, and she voices for him. So people who are hearing and visit the church in America can still listen and understand if they don't understand sign language. So I'm hopeful that for our camp he will have a special connection with the deaf and will inspire them. So to conclude, I wanted to share this information to encourage you and inspire you over what the church is doing about these groups. And really, you know, the three angels' messages in Revelation, it says that the gospel is to preach to every nation, tribe, tongue and people. And that includes everyone. To me also, it includes the deaf in their sign language. Thank you.